I don't know about you, but I've never liked studying. Why bother going to boring classes if you can spend time with friends, hang out at parties, or go on dates with guys instead? Hi, I'm Martha. I recently started dating the coolest guy in the world. His name is Dave, and we're perfect for each other. At least, that's what I thought, until something happened. One day, the principal came up to me and told me off for skipping class all the time. He said that if I didn't change my behavior, my parents would be called to the school. My dad worked in the police. Sometimes I felt like he treated me like a criminal too. I tried not to anger him, so the principal's words scared me. I was in a terrible mood, so I sat on the windowsill, put on my headphones, and I turned on my favorite playlist to cheer myself up. Then, Shane, the head of our school sports club, came up to me. I had to turn my music down. I want you to join our club. I rolled my eyes. No way. I'm sorry, but I've got better things to do with my time. I turned away to stare out the window, and I kept listening to my music. But Shane didn't leave, and I had to turn down the volume again. What? There's gonna be a sports competition between our schools soon, and the coach wants you to be on our team. I was surprised. Why would he want that? Of course, I went to the gym and I stayed fit, but I never really tried hard during gym classes and almost always skipped them. I heard your talk with the principal by accident. Most teachers will give you better marks if you take part in sports competitions. The team members get away with a lot. Now that was interesting. I agreed to give it a try. We came to the sports hall right after classes. Our new coach had transferred to our school quite recently. He had just graduated from uni and wasn't much older than us, so he even asked us to call him by his first name. He said that he was very impressed with my form and wanted me to join the team. Of course, that had me surprised again, but on the other hand, I really was in great shape. After all, I did spend a lot of time at the gym. The coach suggested that I do some warm-up exercises. At first, I did push-ups and jumped rope, and then I ran a few laps around the sports hall. Only then did I suddenly notice that I was the only girl there. So, was I gonna be the only girl on the team? By the way, all the guys were looking at me with admiration, even the coach. So, long story short, it was a success. When I came back from school that day, I was greeted by my displeased parents. They had gotten a call from the principal and were very angry with me, especially my dad. He was about to ground me, but I used my trump card. I told my parents that I had made the sports team and I'd be representing the school at city competitions. Dad and Mom looked at each other in surprise and then smiled. They congratulated me, but asked me not to forget about studying. The next day, my first class was math. We were told the results of the last test. I was sure that I'd failed it, so I was terribly surprised when I saw my mark. I had gotten a high score. Then I caught Shane's eye, and he winked at me. It seemed like school athletes really did get away with a lot. I was in a great mood all day, but in the evening, it was ruined. It was all Dave's fault. We went for a walk around the city, and I told him that I'd joined a sports club. I thought he would be happy for me, but Dave reacted quite unexpectedly. He suddenly stopped and frowned at me. I don't want you to take part in it. His words made me angry. I asked him why, but he couldn't explain it properly. He just stubbornly stood his ground and repeated that I shouldn't participate. I got angry, asked him not to walk me home, and left. We didn't talk for a few days, and then I was invited to a party. Shane had thrown it for our team. At first, I wanted to invite Dave, but then I changed my mind. He should be the one chasing me. I wasn't gonna be the first to reach out. I dressed up, put on bright makeup, and decided to go wild. At the party, I was greeted with cheers and applause. The guys spent the evening bringing me drinks, turning on my favorite music, and entertaining me as best they could. The funny thing was that even our coach was there. He didn't look like a teacher at all, and fit in quite perfectly. As we were having fun, Shane brought out Twister and suggested we play. It was great. No matter how hard it was, I never failed, and everyone praised me for how flexible I was. All the eliminated participants cheered me on, and in the end, I won. After the party, Shane decided to walk me home. When we were near my house, he suddenly tried to kiss me. I immediately pushed him away. You're cool, but I already have a boyfriend, so I'm sorry, but no. The next day, many photos from our party appeared on Instagram. Among them were those of us playing Twister. Dave found me after classes. He had seen the photos and demanded an explanation. He was angry that I had gone to a party with a bunch of guys without him. I haven't done anything wrong. I asked you to leave that stupid club. I folded my arms and I looked at him, feeling indignant. Maybe you're just jealous that I got onto the team and you didn't. You wanted to join the sports club a few years ago. Dave suddenly laughed. Do you really think you were accepted into the team because of your talent? I didn't understand what he meant, and I got angry. We had a fight, and I shut the door in his face. The next day, Shane noticed that I was in an awful mood. I told him about my fight with Dave, and Shane comforted me. He suggested that I get my mind off things and go to a cafe with him. Shane treated me to a cappuccino and a delicious chocolate dessert. He joked and said that even athletes could sometimes indulge themselves. I saw that Shane liked me, and I decided to take advantage of it. A few days after that, we started dating. I expected Dave to find out and come crawling back to me, but that wasn't what happened. He acted like I didn't exist. Cheerleaders practiced in the sports hall with us. I noticed that they were whispering behind my back and laughing, but I didn't understand why. The coach and the team continued to praise me and said I was doing great. One day, Shane asked me to wear tiny shorts and a tank top. When I asked him why, he said it was a surprise. I dressed just like he asked me to, and Shane took me to a photo studio. Here's the surprise photo shoot. You don't mind, do you? Of course I didn't mind. What girl could say no to such a thing? As soon as we arrived, the photographer warned me that it would be a TFP arrangement. It meant that he would take photos of me for free, but then he'd have the rights to use them for his portfolio. I didn't mind. The photographer told me how to pose and look good. Then, he showed me the photos, and I really liked them. After the photo shoot, Shane suggested we go for a walk, but I went to the gym. I had a monthly membership, but I hadn't been using it at all lately. There were a lot of people in the gym. I waited in line for the equipment and started my practice when I suddenly recognized some girls. They were members of our cheerleading team. They were squatting with dumbbells and talking quietly. They saw me and suddenly fell silent. I had grown tired of them whispering behind my back, and I decided to find out what the matter was. I came up to them and demanded an explanation. If you want to say something, say it to my face. The cheerleaders looked at each other, and one of them answered me. We just think this competition isn't for you. It's on a whole nother level. Her words really hurt me. Who were they to decide that? Well, our coach doesn't agree with you, and the whole team too. So keep your opinion to yourself. The cheerleaders said nothing more, just exchanged glances again. That really annoyed me, and I spent the next hour letting off steam. By the end of my workout, I'd calmed down, and I decided I wouldn't pay attention to them anymore. However, the very next day, I was in for a surprise, a really unpleasant one. I came to the sports hall after classes as usual. That day, we were supposed to discuss the upcoming competition. I thought I'd be participating in everything, but it turned out I'd only compete in running. But I'm good at everything else too. We're doing this for you. You shouldn't overexert yourself. You'll be with us the whole time, because we're a team. But we only registered you to run the race. It was useless to keep arguing, so I had to accept it. It's not that I really wanted to take part in everything, but I just wasn't sure what had made the coach come to such a decision. The competition was held at the most prestigious school in our city. They even had their own stadium. We came there early in the morning and began to prepare. The coach gave us all the same uniform. More precisely, he gave all the boys that uniform. And I got tiny shorts and a top, similar to the ones I'd been photographed in recently. When the presentation of the teams began, I suddenly realized that there were only guys around me. I could see only 2 other girls, but one of them was so muscular that she looked like a guy, and the other one, on the contrary, was very thin and gangly. When I saw them, Shane was telling our coach that we had the most beautiful girl on our team. Of course, that was nice to hear, but this wasn't a beauty contest. I really wanted to prove myself, and I was sure I could do it. The boys jumped, did push-ups, and competed at tug of war. Unlike me, the other 2 girls didn't sit on the sidelines. They took part in almost all of the competitions. I was cheering on our team and supporting them as much as I could. When we won the tug of war contest, I even jumped up from my seat, shouting loudly and giving a standing ovation. And then I noticed something. There were large screens in the stadium, which were showing various videos, commercials, the competitions, and dancing cheerleaders. But at that moment, they were showing me. On the screens were my photos from the photo shoot. When Shane came back, I asked him immediately what it meant. Baby, you were the face of these competitions. Isn't it cool? Yeah, maybe it was cool, but why hadn't anyone warned me? I wanted to ask Shane more questions, but it was my turn to compete. I came up to the starting line along with the other girls and guys. I knew I was good at running, but I was still worried. The whistle sounded, and we took off. At first, everything was going great. I even pulled ahead, but before I could enjoy my triumph, everyone started to pass me. First the boys, and then the girls. I tried my best. Sweat was running down my forehead and my back, but I still couldn't catch up to anyone. My opponents were way ahead of me. All of a sudden, one guy running in front of me twisted his ankle and left the race. And thanks to that, I came in second to last. I stopped and immediately doubled over, trying to catch my breath. I felt like a failure. Why? Why was I so bad at this? I'd been doing so well during practice. Or had I? Maybe the coach and the team had just been lying to me. By the way, they didn't even get angry with me for losing. They just patted me on the shoulder. When the results of the competition were announced, I was absolutely shocked. Our school had done well, and the boys had earned a lot of points. And I had got the highest score. I had been given even more points than the winner of the race. What was going on? The jury said that almost all of the participants of the race had violated the rules somehow. As a result, our school took second place. We were awarded silver medals and certificates. And then the boys lifted me, and the audience burst into applause. I ran into my opponents in the locker room. The gangly girl was crying, and the one who looked a bit like a guy was trying to comfort her. I also wanted to help. Don't worry. Next time, you'll definitely win. They both looked at me angrily. Do you really not understand what's going on, or are you just pretending? What are you talking about? You were awarded so many points just because you have a beautiful face and body. Don't tell me you don't know about the new rules. I really didn't understand anything. Then, the girls said that only guys used to participate in those competitions. But that year, the organizers had decided to attract more participants. It had been decided that teams with girls would get more points. And the sponsors were also looking for a model for their logo among the participants. They had liked me, so they'd given me a lot of points for the race. I didn't want to believe it. I had real athletic talent. They couldn't have just accepted me into the team because of my appearance. After the competition, the coach suggested we celebrate our victory in a cafe. When we got there, I asked them directly why I'd made the team, and I regretted asking. They confirmed everything those girls had told me. Our school has never risen above fourth place in sports competitions. When I became the coach, I decided I would take my team to a new level. And then, those new rules and a search for a model were announced. And I bet it all on a pretty girl. On you, that is. And it worked. I can't imagine why the other teams didn't do the same. I felt so hurt that tears came to my eyes. I had believed that I had a talent for sports, but it turned out that it had all been a lie. I didn't want to stay there a minute longer, and I went outside. Shane caught up to me and tried to talk to me, but I didn't want to listen to him. The weather matched my mood. It started to rain heavily. I walked around the city and cried. My legs carried me to our school stadium. I sat down on the bleachers and hugged my knees to my chest. It was only in that moment that I realized I was useless, a complete waste of space. Suddenly, someone sat down next to me. I looked up and I saw Dave. Hello. Has something happened? I told him everything. Dave listened to me without interrupting, and then admitted that he'd guessed everything from the very beginning. That's why I said you shouldn't participate. They were just using you. They made you believe in yourself so you could help them win. I wanted to tell you everything from the beginning, but I was afraid that I was wrong. I wanted Dave to hug and kiss me, so everything would go back to how it used to be. But, of course, he didn't do anything of the sort. Dave was only willing to comfort me as a friend. After a few days, I calmed down, and I firmly decided to change my life. I asked my parents to hire tutors for me, and I seriously took up studying. I'm still looking for my passion, but I know one thing for sure. I don't want to be simply beautiful anymore. I left the sports club, but I'm still friends with some of the guys in it. I also broke up with Shane. I still like Dave, and I really want to be with him. What would you do if you were me? How do I get him back?